Got rid of the two black guys and kept the white girl.
Yeah. Voted out for protest.
Can you believe that?
What was that? What was it?
They broke the rules, but they did something that's not really worthy of the punishment. They didn't do what the punishment was. They got kicked out. But the rule they broke was they protested something after those kids were shot in Nashville.
The senators in the state Tennessee Senate protested on the floor.
Oh,
Three Democrats, two of them are black, one was white, and they had a special vote to expel them from the Senate.
Right.
The two black guys got kicked out. The white girl barely made it and stayed.
And I mean, I heard that there was some ruckus or something, but I didn't hear the whole.
Yeah, process. I mean, they protested.
We're going to be live, so
let's go. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Hey, have you guys ever seen this wonderful drummer that we're having a guest? Have you seen him drum before? Have you played with him, Norwood, Kenny, or Scott?
Yeah.
No.
Badass.
He's
Kenny was with us. Kenny was with us at Baked Potato that night, Pert.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
He's smooth as silk, sophisticated, and he never makes you feel like it's odd time if he's going for that, or if he's doing a drum solo. It's really lyrical, very musical.
Yeah, I was supposed to do a thing. Me and him and Sean McNabb and Gilby were supposed to do a run right after the week after NAMM. And it got
good.
All right, you guys, ready? It's that time.
Let's do it.
All right, let's rock. Here we go. Here we go.
To the moon.
The Rock and Talk Show, Beyond Backstage, with your hosts, Norwood Fisher, Kenny Olson, Scott Page, Stephen Perkins, Sheila Conlon, and David Moss.
And welcome to the Rock and Talk Show, the bi-monthly show that dives deep into the entertainment industry, the business of it, the stories and culture around it, and everything in between. I am the Moss Man. This is show number 72. It's crazy, but let me quickly introduce my amazing co-hosts and friends. We've got the one and only legendary guitarist Kenny Olson, formerly of Kid Rock, Twisted Brown Trucker Band, Experience Hendrix. We got Norwood Fisher from Fishbone and Trulio Disgracious. We have the lovely Sheila Conlon from the Conlon Company. Scotty Page, Pink Floyd, Toto, Supertramp. And last but certainly not least, my brother, Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros. How's everybody doing? Are we good?
Excellent.
Woo.
Excellent. Very good. Very good.
The sun is shining again. I began to wonder if it was going to ever shine again in Southern California, but it's nice to know that it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
yes,
we had crazy weather in Michigan. It was like got up to 70 something yesterday in Michigan and lightning everywhere. Thunder.
Lightning.
We have a great
lights. The pictures that people have been getting up here, the frequent like northern lights, if you catch them, it's like unbelievable photos.
And are they red or green up there?
They're like, these are multicolored. They got the red, green, everything. This is like, I mean, they look photoshopped and they're real. Like everybody's been getting these photos. I keep getting up in the middle of the night, walking out in my boxers, like going, "Hey."
Well, Ken, it's such a great life you have. So you live with your family. And is it where you grew up, or is it somewhere that they now live and that's where you hang out with them?
No, when I'm up here from Detroit, normally I'm in Detroit, but then I have my own little cottage in the, it's not a cottage, it's a house, but it's in the middle of not far from the rest of my, like some of the family that lives here. My family lives all over the place, so it's hard to, but this place is like, when I'm not on the road, it's a nice little getaway. It's beautiful up here.
The aurora is one of the coolest things like you can possibly see. I spent some time in Alaska and I got to see it a bunch of times out in the middle of nowhere, sitting in a hot tub, like 4-hour drive from Fairbanks and 12 miles into the wilderness on snow machines. And we spent 3 days out there in minus 10 in a little cabin. And it was insane, unbelievable.
That's cool.
But
Yeah,
tonight, real quickly, tonight we have a great show. We have actually 3 amazing guests. 2 of them will be together. We have the legendary drummer Joe Travers, who's spent 20 years with Zappa, plays Zappa, manages the Zappa vault. We'll talk more about him later. And then Celso Salim and Darryl Carriere are going to join us as our musical guests later. But last show, who wants to throw the shout out to our legendary guest last show?
Well, Scott Page. Here's the drum roll.
Mr. Fong, I can't remember which one.
Ben Fong.
What was it? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Amazing Ben Fong Torres.
Yes.
Yay.
Boy, he was great. His stories were incredible, right?
Yes, that was a fun show.
We could do like 5 shows with that guy. I mean, he's talk about rock and roll history and being around it. And just the fact that he was the guy that they did Almost Famous, they based it on, right? Around his story.
Even though he said the only thing that was true in that movie was the shirt.
Hey,
still, what's cool about Rolling Stone is it's like a bittersweet relationship with musicians, because we don't like it, but we want to be in it.
Yeah.
We don't care for it, but you want them to give you a good, good review, etc. But it's in the early days of music when things were uncharted. There were a few radio stations and a few rags you can go to, and that's where you found out what was coming, what was cool, and who was working together. So that was like the conduit between people in Nashville and Alabama and Florida, Los Angeles, of course. They got to find out what was happening because this guy had his ear to the ground and was like hanging out with the cats we heard about. I think that's cool. He's still articulate, and he's so like just mild mannered
and very precise.
You know what? The what I didn't say while he was there is actually because like Rolling Stone magazine is the only parallel is Playboy magazine on how it impacted culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually,
like that's really like the because it began to be so much more than music. It was culture at large, and their perception, the perspective that they delivered to people actually really like molded how culture at large moved.
Yeah.
You know what? Remember how cool it was when that was like the magazine. Whenever you'd see a new Rolling Stone, you had to go check it out because there was think about it. We didn't have ways to get that information except for when that thing came out. Right. Yeah. It was
same thing with Playboy.
All that stuff. Yeah. Except the old issues were still good.
You know what had a little bit of tip of what that is, Norwood, was when Skateboard magazine happened and surf magazines. There was people that never saw what it was like to skateboard a pool in Los Angeles until that changed everything.
It changed the world.
Yeah.
And Rolling Stone magazine was the right size to roll on too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, we've got to get to our show, but let's first real quickly, like Stephen, you're leaving Saturday for Australia. Talk about
That's right.
And you've been all over the world. Like,
yeah.
It's been a great last few months have been amazing. We did 2.5 weeks on the West Coast of America, North America. Then we did 2 weeks in South America, and Josh Klinghoffer's on guitar. And the crowds have been just warm and great audiences swirling up. And now we're going to Australia for 20 days for 10 shows with the Pumpkins and a cool band called Emil and the Sniffers. And Emil's this great chick that she's got some power on stage. And the Sniffers, they're a good band. They're the Sniffers.
I love that name.
Yeah. I'll be back with some great stories, and it's Sydney and Melbourne and Adelaide and Brisbane and basically most of Australia. If you can do all of it, we just about did everything except for Perth. We're not going to go over to Perth, but yeah, it's going to be great. Thanks for asking.
And Norwood,
are you hitting New Zealand while you're out there?
Can you believe it or not? We're skipping. We're all the way down there, and you're like, we're not going to Auckland for some green mussels. But hey, next time.
Next time.
And Norwood, you just announced a pretty full, extensive 2023.
I'm so happy. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, wait. I just came from Puerto Rico, right? Like that was amazing, beautiful, like it's friggin' paradise. And I didn't surf at all. I actually recharged.
Awesome.
Nice.
And you're gonna be out with frickin' Parliament Funkadelic and George Clinton.
Yeah, man. The next thing we do is we got some dates with the Slackers on the East Coast. We got a festival that is like the anchor date, and I think we just added a show in Portland, Maine, and so it's a nice little run on the East Coast. Yes, but and then we got dates with Les Claypool and the Flying Frog Brigade.
That's gonna be badass. I can't wait for that.
In May, and that one, I believe Julian Lennon will be. No, Sean Lennon will be on those dates with playing with Les, and
we got to get Les on this show. Putting it out there, Les. We're inviting you onto this show right now.
Stop it.
Yeah, I just ran into his son Cage at Kazunori.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And Cage directed the last Primus video, and he's directing the documentary that I'm in, another documentary. And yeah, man, I just found he's an amazing animator. No, I didn't just find that out. The Primus video is amazing animation, the last one. I don't remember the name of the song. But yeah, and then we got shows with George Clinton.
Fucking A, badass. I can't wait. Scott and Kenny.
And you laid down some wisdom in that Rick James doc.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's such a powerful, powerful statement that every time they went to you, it was clarity. Like that, you said the story. You just said that's how it is.
and Scott and Kenny, quickly, you guys got some stuff coming up this week, like Saturday night, or is it Sunday?
We're playing together. We're doing Tuesday night, I think. Or I don't know if you for that. I don't know if you're here for that one. But we're doing Tuesday at the Hard Rock, I think. Sheila, you got it. We're doing the Hard Rock.
April 9th at the Hard Rock Cafe. You and Miles Schoen and Jonathan Mover and Will Champlin and Thomas Claxton.
Yep.
And then April 11th, Kenny gets here, and you guys are doing the Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood.
The whiskey? Yeah.
The ultimate jam night with some amazing rockers. And actually, which is and we've got other stuff too, but our guest is here and I want to bring him in.
Let's bring him in. We're good.
And we can talk about the Tuesday night when we bring him in, because he's a big part of the Tuesday night. So we're very, very fortunate to have with us a really dear friend of mine and Joe Travers right here, one of the most amazing musicians out there. Joe, welcome to the Rock and Talk Show.
How's it going, everybody?
Good. Good. How you doing?
Yeah, man.
How are you?
In there, Mr. Perkins?
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey,
Turn
Joe.
your mic up a little bit. Can you turn your mic up a little, Joe?
Sure.
It's not hi. It's not hey Joe. It's hi Joe.
Hi,
Yeah.
Joe.
So listen, you are such a powerful force on the drums. I was just telling everybody that there's something smooth and silky about when you close your eyes. You listen to the way you play. It's very smooth, and you open your eyes, and there you are, just like it's so casual. Does anything like stress you out on the kit, or you just dance your way through it? Because I'm a drummer and I know I can dance some ways, and the other ways I've got to really use the old noggin to get through it. But you love all music, and the music, it doesn't matter how sophisticated it is to someone else's ears. The guy that loves it can play it,
Yeah.
But tell me about your style. Where did it come from?
It's a mixture of so much. I started out with rock and roll, just being a young kid and loving the same thing that probably most people from my age were into, you know, Kiss and stuff like that.
How old are you?
I'm 54 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, I grew up listening to what it would be considered classic rock now, but I also it was a mixture because I came from a musical family. So there was a lot of different styles in there, but the things that, you know, related to me at a very young age was rock. And then as I started getting older, and especially when I went to Berklee College of Music, I really, really took a left turn at Wednesday, as Gail Zappa used to say, because I started to really broaden my musical horizons, and I was a sponge, and I was really sucking up a lot of jazz and R&B and funk, stuff that I was never really exposed to, you know, just because of the people that I was hanging out with and my family and stuff like that. But the moment that I heard Sly and the Family Stone and the Meters and James Brown and you know, Parliament Funkadelic and things like that, it really, really helped me to become the drummer that I am today. Because had I not kind of gone down that pathway, I think that I just really would have been just another Mike Portnoy kind of guy, you know. And nothing against Mike Portnoy, because he's a great drummer, but I mean, his style, his genre that he speaks to, that was like kind of where I was headed, and I wanted to be more than that. I wanted to be different than that. So that's kind of,
you know, when I met Norwood, I was 17, and I had a small record collection. But Norwood and Perry and Eric, they opened up my mind to a different record collection, and then my drumming changed immediately.
Yes.
So, you know, going to Berklee and surrounded by different musicians, influences, and also that competitive spirit, that's got to be good too for every musician, but drummers especially, because we're athletic and you see other guys doing things. But I don't want to steal the questions in the show. I just wanted to know where it came from, because you're such a smooth player. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You can hear it, like when me and Perkins and Moss came up and say it's a baked potato, you know, you can hear all of those seasonings, and your pocket was just amazing. And then you and I were going to go and do that run with Sean McNabb and Gilby at the end of this month. And then I was so happy. They're like going, Joe Travers. I'm like, oh, dude, he's amazing. I was so excited. And then what they do, cancel.
I know it got pushed. Yeah. Or postponed or whatever. Yeah. Well, thank you. You know, I think that the pocket and the feel of the music that you get hired to play is the most important thing. All the rest of that other stuff, the fireworks, the chops, and all that stuff, you know, if you've got that kind of a vocabulary, that's really cool, and you can dip into that shit anytime you want to. But you know, that groove is what makes the lady sway, and that's the most important thing.
That's the thing. Like Vinny's a guy that's got a great feel, but also has that insane amount of chops, right?
Absolutely.
And people don't realize too, with a drummer, even when it's a stripped down band, but when you're playing with a lot of musicians and you're trying to everybody keep that little hair behind the beat and everybody together, I mean, it's amazing when someone like you can really master that and reel everybody in and keep everybody.
Well, thank you. You know, I heard drummers, you know, like modern nowadays drummers that are you know, what I would consider peers, like, you know, like Abe Laboriel Jr., for example, because we went to school together at Berklee, and he was a big learning experience for me, because, you know, I heard what he was doing and I said to myself, I need to make music feel like that too. Like, I want people to feel that way when I play as well. And so I started tapping into what exactly is it that drummers like that do to make the music feels really special. And I, you know, I steal from everybody. That's what we do. You know,
he's amazing. I song with Les Paul on Les Paul's record with him, but we didn't get to be in the same room. Him and Will Lee sent the drum track over and the bass track. Then I put the guitars on in Michigan, and I was so wanted to be in that same room, but amazing.
Yeah. All the stuff I was stealing from John Coltrane never stuck. I tried to steal it, but I couldn't. It was too slippery. I couldn't get my hands
Joe,
around.
do you know Scott Page was played with some of the greatest drummers on earth, and including the king of the mountain, Jeff Porcaro. They went to high school together. I don't want to speak for Scott, but to know what it feels like to play with great drummers, because we're drummers, we'll never know. But these guys get to play with great drummers. And of course, look at what Norwood grew up with his brother, one of the captains of the ship, fucking Fish. I mean, come down. And then Kenny's played with like Mitch Mitchell. Kenny's played with Mitch.
And Billy.
I mean, unbelievable people. It's fascinating to me as a drummer to find out who plays with other drummers and what it feels like, you know?
Oh, you're muted, dear. You're muted.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was muted. I was going to say, I've done what I can say about drummers is I used to date drummers.
It was Cherokee all night long.
My son's a badass drummer. There's my connection to drummers.
I know. I'm like, they were always my favorite in the band, the drummers.
Actually, no matter how happy the drummer is the drummers are the scariest guys in a band because they beat shit for a living, and they're like they have lizard brains, and the only other lizard brain is like the church guy that plays organ with his hands and his feet. He's all 4 parts of your brain.
Well, one good thing, I've never been beaten by a drummer. There you go. Never been beaten by one.
You know, I was explaining to someone about like what Kenny was saying, behind the beat, on the beat, ahead of the beat. And I've been so fortunate to have great bass players in and out of my life. Like some of the greatest influences are the bass players. But, you know, I was telling somebody who doesn't play drums, if you say the word 1 or the word 2, the word itself is a long word. 1, you can think about the beat with the letter O or think about the beat on the letter E. 1 it's a big block word. You know, drummers can look at 1, 2, 3. You know, Bonham's always thinking about the last letter of the word. 1, 2, back there, you know, and then Copeland's on the beginning of the word. And it's just an incredible power we have to play with such a little bit fraction of space, but it feels different.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that? If you think about it, if Jeff Beccari's called it the lope, right? It's that there's that space that you feel it, but you haven't even hit the drum yet, right? And like when I notice all the great drummers, they have that, there's that space before the thing hits that you can actually feel before it even happens, right? Because some guys will hit, it just doesn't have the thing is where it's that space that just happens at the end, right? And you're right. It's kind of being where you put it, a little bit of front and ahead. And like I always said, my favorite thing, everybody say, what's the best thing about playing with Toto? I said, I played cowbell on 4 songs with Jeff Beccaro because the way he played that beat and where he did it, it was like, dude, I'll tell you, it's better than sax, man. When kids could lock, me and him would just lock. It was beautiful. But yeah, it's such an art, you know, the groove is such a delicate thing, right?
I can't let this moment pass without mentioning Richie Hayward, who was also one of those guys who was more focused on the E versus the O, maybe in between the N and the E, like you know, like right in that, just behind but Joe, I want to ask you, Joe. You know, you mentioned Sly and James Brown and Parliament Funkadelic, all amazing, you know, drums. But then you switched to Zappa.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, now we're talking like a whole nother world. Like it's a completely different world. It's a different, I mean, it's next level. Where did that transition happen? And you like are just so connected with the Zappa family. Like, when did that happen for you?
What were the steps that led to that?
Exactly.
I'll tell you, it started very early. So like, you know, as I was, you know, making all of those musical transitions and phases throughout my life to become the player that I am now, behind all of that, Frank was there for me. I started very early. I started at 10 years old when I first heard Frank Zappa, and I was exposed at a very young age, and I fell in love immediately, and I was a lifer, you know, the whole time. And as I got older and as my experience as a musician kept progressing, I started, of course, more and more understanding what was going on with that music. It wasn't just about the humor. It wasn't just about the crazy words that you're hearing at a very young age. It wasn't just about the amazing drumming that you're hearing. You know, it's so much more than that too. And I just kept layers and layers just kept revealing to me as time goes on, and it was really just a never-ending source of inspiration for me, Frank Zappa's music. And he's a hero to me, and I just really took to it, and it stayed with me forever. And the way that I ended up doing what I do now is just, it's fate oriented, and it's an incredible story, and one that will, I hope, always really kind of inspire future musicians and anybody that has a dream that wants to follow it, no matter what they do. I am pure proof that if you have the goods, and if you have the personality, and if you have the knowledge, you really can make things happen in your life. No one wants to hire an asshole. Nobody wants to deal with somebody that walks the walk, talks the talk, but doesn't have the goods, you know? And so it just all really fell in place for me. And I know I'm rambling. I hope I'm answering the question.
No, you're not rambling. Elaborate just a little bit more on, you just said it's an incredible story. Like, how did you end up in the seat?
Okay. So so basically, I made the decision when I was in Boston that I was going to move to Los Angeles instead of moving to New York or Nashville or any other place where the industry is, because I realized that I had a job waiting for me there, and I also had musical connections waiting for me there. I had befriended a guy named Mike Keneally. Mike Keneally was in Mike was in Dweezil Zappa's band at the time, and also was in Frank Zappa's band in 1988. I had befriended him, kept in touch with him, and when I moved to Los Angeles, he and, you know, a handful of other people were kind of like my very small network of people in the industry that kind of started me. And within 6 months of me moving to Los Angeles, I moved in September of 1992, and by March of 1993, I was getting called by Dweezil and Ahmet and Mike Keneally to come down and audition. Because there was a space available in their band. And so that was it. It was like, it was the moment of truth. I had waited for it my entire life, and I wasn't going to let anything get in my way of doing the best that I possibly could. So, you know, long story short, I went down there and I got the gig, and that's where it started. And then that was in 1993. 2 years later, in 1995, I was brought down into the vault, the famous vault, which is where Frank Zappa, who had recently passed, had all of his life work, all on tape, film, documents, pictures, you name it. It was just, you know, it was the legacy of an amazing individual right there in one vault. And I was brought down there, and I was like a kid in a candy store. It's almost like my stock answer when I get asked this question. I just kept saying to the people that brought me there, which was the current crew at the time, the engineers and the maintenance people and the people that worked for Zappa family. And I just was losing my mind. My brain blew into bits down there because I was so excited, because I knew what was on those tapes just by looking at them, and I knew more about that than anybody in the family and anybody in the employees. So they went back and told Gail, and Gail said, "Great, he's the Vaultmeister." And that's how it started. And the next thing I knew, I was, you know, I had the key to the vault, and I had a purple marker and a pad. I didn't have any computer experience whatsoever, nor did I have any experience working with media like these master tapes and things like that. Very little. And it was on the job training. I totally grinded it out, and I learned everything that I needed to learn in order to preserve the legacy of that man. And here I am 30 years later, still doing it.
Okay.
Wow.
Wait, that's living the dream, bro. Thank you.
Now just but even like a little deeper, like what you do with the Zappa Vault is like you manage all the music, like you decide what's going to go out on iTunes. You you like, it's crazy. Like, yes, am I right?
That is correct. I worked side by side with Gail for many years. We were a co-production team together, and we released, many things through mail order. And then I was with her when she acquired the catalog from Warner Brothers, and then we started our current deal that we are, our current relationship with Universal, you and me, that started in 2012. And I was with her through all of that. And she passed in 2015, and then Amit and I became the co-production team, and we are continuing where Gail left off. And I am basically what you would call the staff producer and archivist for the Zappa legacy.
Wow.
And, yeah. And here's another doozy. I worked for the family independently as their drummer and their archivist for 29 years. And then last year, they sold the business and the brand to Universal. And so next thing I knew, I was out of a job. But thank God that Universal and all the people at UME realized my worth and my investment in the man and the work that I've done. And so they hired me on as a consultant. So now I'm working with Universal to be the consultant for the Zappa brand, and I couldn't be happier.
That's great.
Oh my God, that's great. I wanted to ask one thing. Sorry. So do you have a say in where that music gets licensed, or like if a TV show or a film or a commercial wants to use a track or a song, are you part of that team?
No, but I am a resource for them if they have any questions about it.
Got it.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, you don't see much of his music appear synced or being used for most anything. I can't remember, maybe a John Cassavetes movie, but I would say that might be the last or only place. But my question to you real quick, you've seen how dedicated a musician, and from the Miles Davis and Sun Ra camp almost, knowing Frank inside and out, even though you didn't, any musician today that you think Frank would go, yeah, they're onto something? Anybody from anywhere in the world, any continent, that you think Zappa would like? Because Zappa put some weird music out for other people, like Shankar and the girls,
Yeah. He really had really interesting eclectic musical tastes, that guy. Like I remember hearing, like, when Amy Grant was having her moment in the sunshine, he liked her. It's like, who would have thunk that he would have really liked Amy Grant in the 90s when Amy Grant was like crossing over into pop from Christian, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's really hard to say. Frank always was asked that question, Stephen, a lot, and he would really only answer it by saying, I don't really listen to music recreationally. And he was always kind of stuck in his world. He was always producing what was important to him, and he didn't really listen to a lot of music. When he did listen to a lot of music, it was normally classical and serious composers.
Yeah.
People like Stravinsky, Varese, Wagner. He liked a lot of old blues. He liked, Chicago blues like Muddy Waters and Johnny Guitar Watson, Lightning Slim, Guitar Slim. He loved old R&B. He loved old 50s and 60s R&B like doo-wop. That was a love for him.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was where all this stuff came from, and but the modern guitarists that he admired was obviously, Jeff Beck, and Alan Holdsworth was like kind of the stock answer in the 80s when he was asked. So I think that can give you a clue on what he was interested in. Like I said, he didn't spend too many times. Like nowadays, it's like, how often do you think he would have spent? I mean, he probably would have watched TV a lot and got exposed to stuff on TV. Like in the heyday of MTV, he was definitely seeing things.
Yeah.
And stuff. But like, what would you think about, like, King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, or Taylor Swift and how she's progressing, or people like that, like the mainstays? What would you think about people like that? That's an interesting question.
Well, one of the things.
Kenny, go ahead, Kenny.
I did a session with Chester Thompson, and it was a song that required type signature thinking. And for us guitar players, sometimes those are it's a little scary situation, especially when you're playing with someone like Chester and you don't want to mess up. And I'm actually playing a guide track when he's laying down the drums too. And it was really cool because he sat down and he broke it down to me. And he said that Frank, obviously someone like you, there were certain people in Frank's band that were just able to just play the most amazing things that he would write out. But he said that some of the musicians that would play too they were just more field guys that were intertwined within guys that had the knowledge that, like you, that are both you're like a field player and know all this amazing stuff up in your head that some players don't know. And Chester was talking about some of the sessions that collaborated, some guys that weren't really theory guys working with these guys that really, like I said, knew their stuff. And I found that to be really cool that,
Thanks. I got to correct myself. When I said about the serious composers that Frank listened to, I said Wagner, and I meant to say Webern. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, we don't want to cross the lines. We don't want to go and do. Yes. Okay.
This is live, man. Those fans are going to be like, dude, Zappa wasn't listening to Wagner, bro.
That's heavy. That's a heavy thing.
Yeah. Look, I think we got a few notes coming up now. Saying,
you know what?
See?
At the beginning of Fishbone's recording career, Frank Zappa, like maybe on KLOS or an interview, he said some very nice things about Fishbone, and it lit us up.
Great.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, when I was in Zappa Plays Zappa, we did a show with Fishbone. We were on the same bill.
No, I remember I was going to ask you about that because I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it was amazing. We were all standing side to the stage, man, watching you guys go. And then, you have to help me. What is the name of the singer?
Angelo.
Yeah, Angelo. Angelo went back to our hotel with us and stayed up till like 4 or 5 in the morning with us.
Like I remember because I watched you guys because you guys were playing next door.
Yeah.
But it was the same complex, and me and Angelo watched you guys. Talked to Amit and Zeke and Dweezil afterwards, and wait, because the bass player on that show, I was like, because you guys did that 100 song medley or 110 songs in 1 minute or something like that.
Yeah,
it was the most insane thing I ever saw.
That was pretty insane when you guys would do that. That was pretty insane.
That was back in the 90s when Z was the name of that group. It was Amit and Dweezil's group Z, and we were famous for doing this this crazy nonstop through composed medley of 70s riffs. And it was so crazy. I swear to God, like it was so funny as a drummer. And Steven, you know what I mean? When you get the backseat view, and I was watching the audience's reaction. It's like the first 10 minutes, they're just standing there like with their mouths open. And then 15 minutes, they're like smiling, but they're like shaking their heads. And then 20 minutes, they're like super drained. And then by the end of it, it was like we completely lost them. And we did it every single night. It was so funny.
It was incredible.
I know.
And it was just like a sliver of it, but you knew every song.
Yes.
Like it wasn't stumped at one song. And it was just it seemed like it wasn't a full bar of anything.
Exactly. Yeah, and we worked on that thing for months, man.
But either Amit or Dweezil told me that I was like, how the fuck did y'all come up with that? Oh, we just put together a cassette tape and we gave it to the bass player because we didn't think he was cool enough to be in the band. Like, learn this shit. We didn't expect him to come back with it, and he came back and he knew every single note.
Yes, he
so
did.
We had to learn it.
Yeah.
I just saw Pete Griffin and Jamie Kime were recording with Chad Wackerman.
Cool.
It looked like I saw a post from Pete. That bass player you're talking about is Pete Griffin, right?
No. The bass player that he's talking about is Brian Beller. But but in Zappa Plays Zappa, that was Pete Griffin. Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah, man.
Scott, I think Scott had a question earlier.
I was just curious about, because you're right. When I'm going back to the publishing aspect, because I was just curious. You talked about, I don't think I've ever heard any Zappa songs in any kind of commercials and stuff. So with the catalog, what kind of things were you selling? What were you doing? Were you repackaging things in different ways, or how were they exploiting the catalog if they weren't licensing it and stuff?
Well, we remastered it and made it available on all the formats, CD, streaming, and stuff like that. And then, of course, we just keep dipping into the vaults, and we're creating a posthumous phase 2 of the catalog, and it's filled with live concerts, studio outtakes, anniversary celebrations of the classic records from the catalog, and just as you know, Frank recorded almost everything. He might not have saved it all, but he, like certain tours and stuff, not every single show was saved, because he would take tape from one tour, and then he would, if there was a certain city that he didn't like the show, he would use those tapes to record the next tape, because tape was expensive. What the hell? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. But the things in the vault that were saved, I mean, there's a lot. And so
Wow.
So
You guys
so it's
any like some new vinyl reissues of some of the old records?
Absolutely.
So how about NFTs? Are you going into that space yet? Because it seems like that area would start to make a lot of sense for you guys.
I've heard rumblings of that from Universal. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really that well versed in the NFT world, but I'm not sure how that will pan out, but that's not for me to say. That's up to them. Right. So, yeah.
You mentioned the 30, where we were talking about the 30-minute little piece of all the songs, and by the end of it, losing people. Zappa was one of those guys where you either know him and get him, or you don't. And it seems like it's a smaller sort of niche of listener and audience that truly appreciates, but those that do are just so hardcore. But talk about like why, like his music was just so complex and so intricate. Is it just above most people's heads? And what people don't also maybe realize about Zappa was, I mean, he appeared in front of Congress back in the day,
right,
to speak out against censorship. And he was just just an incredible, like, he'd be turning in his grave today, like with everything that's going on.
Yeah, that's really what would be interesting, is what he would think about, the stuff that has happened since he's passed. I mean, gosh, he passed in 1993. So much has happened since then in this country, and we really miss him. His music is such a dense collaboration of styles, and also humor. And I think that some people, they just, when humor is involved in music, it automatically puts it in some kind of a novelty category, and a lot of people can't relate to that. Some people like opera, some people like musicals, some people like country, some people like pop, some people love metal. Zappa is a world to his own.
Joe, it reminds me of Monty Python. It's sophisticated, holy grail. It stands the time. Some people might think it's silly, or some people say, no, man, it's deep. It's really every word. It's a haiku. Every word is picked.
Yeah.
And it's like Frank Zappa's music is like a haiku. Yeah. He spent the time, even though he plays it live and he just makes it up on the spot when he solos because he wants to be there and in the moment. But it's like, it's so well, every word is meant to make you feel something, even though you're right, it hits your funny bone.
That's so interesting about Pythons. I worked with the Pythons for 15 years, right? So I produced all the games. I produced all the
learning something new right here.
Waste of time, Holy Grail, all that. So I worked with them a lot, right?
Wow.
And what was interesting is there was all this stuff that they've done. There was only 42 shows, and there was only like the handful of movies. And they just basically returned that around. They got box sets, they change it around, and they add these things. But that is a trip working with those guys. And the same thing with the humor. At first, I was having a hard time. It was like, I didn't quite get it, didn't get it. But then after a while, you start to see. But yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Good thinking about those two. I think you're right about that. They're very,
you get thought about right? It in a way.
That's a good analogy.
I want to add, when we were talking about Frank too, is, here were these intricate arrangements, just amazing. But him as like being a guitar player, when like Frank had that just came out and just melted your face, like how Hendrix and these guys where like his guitar solos versus like the arrangements he was playing to, he just would just take me right out there. He takes everybody right out there. And it's like it danced on this little needle back and forth, whether it was going outside or not. And it was so, like that. I was just listening to like him doing that live solo in Zombie Wolf, where he just comes in with this like feedback, like total old school Hendrix thing. And it just like melts in my face like it does every time I hear it, and I just love how he just never, just as soon as he started playing, it was like he just left his body.
See, what people really like, the humor was like more like National Lampoon than Mad Magazine, and it could be Mad Magazine, sometimes, but really like musically, it made it. The musical bed created a transcendent experience.
Yeah.
Right. So it's beyond. It is, Perkins. You mentioned Sun Ra and Miles Davis earlier, and that's really like, like it's not a lot of people that hold those spaces, and he's one of those people that, like Parliament Funkadelic. It is all like things that sit in their own space, and you might as well.
Yeah. It's really unique stuff, and it's really inspiring too. And if you're a guitar player, because you mentioned the guitar, Frank's guitar playing is there's nobody that plays like him, and there's and it's like the sources of inspiration, like the amount of inspiration that you can get just from hearing some of those classic solos that he's done. It'll always be there. It'll live past all of us, his output, and it's incredible.
Now, real quick, what about, ever feel the loving pressure from every drummer's eyes on you? You're playing the greatest drum parts. 10 different drummers did the job. I think he's had 10 or 8 drummers, right? And you pull it off because you're such a great drummer, and your heart is always in it, so it feels right. But that's got to be fun though, because people are always examining the performance of Zappa covered, like if the band's doing
Oh my God, constantly.
Like Zappa's influence from like the early composers that were like outlawed from even putting out their music because it was considered too dark, and that when they were actually censoring music that was being put out. And Frank's influenced by those early composers that, we're not able to come out because their music was so haunting, and his inspiration that.
We're at the point in the show, you guys.
Sure. Before we do that, I just want to ask Joe one more thing, because we've talked a lot about his work with Frank Zappa, but Joe, where are you at right now? And what are you doing? Like, where do you live? We know that you're working still with the library and Universal, but what is it that you're doing every day besides that?
Well, I'm still working day to day, doing what I love with the vault and working for Universal. And then I'm a freelance drummer around Los Angeles, and I'm involved in a variety of stuff, including playing Frank's music, which is music that I love so much, and I've spent so much time learning it and playing it that I still continue to do that. I'm part of a band called One Shot Deal, which is what Zappa Plays Zappa was in 2006. And we are playing around and enjoying, playing that music. I play freelance a lot. So I'm the house drummer at the Tuesday night Ultimate Jam Night at the Whiskey, which is back after COVID, doing two times a month, which is a lot of fun. And I love doing that. And I record here every once in a while. I get called for recording things. You know what it's like to be a freelance guy, and you're in a town with all the greatest drummers in the world. It's like, I'm grateful for any call that I get. But it's been really, really, really great. I can't complain. The one thing that I would like to do a little bit more of, but unfortunately COVID still has wrecked it, is tour. It's really hard to tour because the cost of everything has gone up. Tickets, gas, bus rentals, gear, everything is, more expensive. And when the 50 and up demographic aren't going to come out and see Zappa music because the inflation's high and they're afraid to get sick because of COVID, then you're in trouble. So I'd like to see the market open back up, but hopefully in time, that'll happen.
So real quick, one last question. So you musical family you came from. So what, just real quick touch on that, because I came from a musical family. I was just curious.
My dad, my grandfather, my uncles, and my cousins were all drummers.
Whoa.
What? No.
It was incredible. Everywhere I looked, it was drums all over the place.
And who had the best time? Who had the best time?
I'm the only one that went professional out of the whole family.
It's like the Picaros and the Wackermans.
Yep, exactly. You have no choice. It's genetic.
You guys, we're at the point in the show where we're going to bring in our musical guests. I have another question too, but I'll ask it at the end of the show for you, Joe.
Hey, thank you all very much for having me.
Don't leave.
I know, but we can do it any other time. We can do it again if you want.
Yeah,
we will, definitely.
I know.
We may, because there's a lot more we want to talk about. But now we're going to bring in two also amazing musicians, Celso Salim and Darryl Carriere. Welcome to the Rock and Talk Show. Accomplished, very amazing blues guitarist, singer, and harp player. And welcome Darryl and Celso to the Rock and Talk Show.
Welcome.
Can you hear us?
Celso.
Sorry, I'm trying to
Celso.
this.
Where did you go?
Oh man.
There you go. Are you there? Can you hear us?
Sorry. How's everybody doing?
Good. Hey, Celso, how are you, buddy?
It's
All
going.
right.
It's going.
I'm good, man. Happy to see you're on the show.
Yeah, man. Great to be here, man. Thanks for
Great.
inviting us.
Yeah.
So you guys just played at the Catalina Jazz Club last night.
We did, yeah, for the first time. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Love the sound there.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful. Yeah.
and how'd it go?
It was great,
Yeah.
We had a great time,
Yeah, short notice, but
It was a short notice,
Yeah.
but yeah, we
Did you play any blues? Did you play any blues?
play a lot of blues.
So Celso, where are you from? And I'm trying to remember where we met. Did we meet through Charlie Wooten? Is that where we met? Or
I think so. I'm from Brazil and I've been living in the States since 2014. And I think we met, man, at the Mint first time. I think your kid was playing.
oh, maybe, yeah, that's probably true.
I remember Kenny was there playing some bass from Little Feat, and then we saw each other again with Charlie Wooten.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And I think we met at the Potato. Was it when we played together at the Baked Potato? Wasn't it? Where was the place we first met and played?
Yes, I think so. With Chuck Kavuras, we did
Chuck,
that
right.
show there. Yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah. You had just arrived. You hadn't been here very long since when we first met, right?
Correct.
Yep. Great.
And how'd you guys come together? Darryl, what's your story? How'd you guys meet?
well, I've been in bands. I was in a band called the Soul Tones in the 80s and late 70s. And I had some friends say, dude, you should sing, because I was just a backup vocal harmonica player. And so I tried to put a band together and it was just horrible. But I found out that it wasn't me, it was the players that I had hired at first. And then Celso calls me and he's like, hey, I hear you're looking for a guitar player. And I said, I am. And
Just to give some context, this was in '98.
Okay.
I lived here in the 90s. I lived here for 3 years, and then that's when we met.
he was going to MIT.
MI.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Musicians
Not MIT.
Big difference between
I'm not that
MIT and MI.
But I made him play. I put it on speaker and I made him play, and he had somebody going bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, nice finger batting blues, and then he started playing, and I swear I had like goosebumps, and I just go, dude, and we put the band together in a studio, and he had a drummer, I had a bass player.
Yep.
And it was just, yeah,
Perfect.
we've been playing ever since, really.
And what else you guys got going on? Like, are you playing? You just did Catalina. Where else you doing?
We're gonna be doing the Ohio Blues Fest this year, and
We're playing
it's
Laguna
in June.
Beach.
In June, we play all over town. We play at Harvell's a lot. So we got some stuff coming up, but we have our album coming up, which is the main thing right now. It's almost done. We just mixed it, and it's all original music, and it's gonna be released in about 3 months, I think.
Right.
Awesome.
That's
Now,
cool.
have you ever
I
seen
got-
have you ever seen Joe Travers play?
Yes, I think so. It wasn't Joe? Were you at One Festival in Florida with Zappa Play Zappa?
Yeah, I think we were there with well, we definitely played with Return to Forever because Chick Corea sat in with us, which was pretty damn cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't remember for sure if it was you on drums on that show, but I remember seeing Zappa Play Zappa and at
Yeah.
One in Florida, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was there until 2013, so that was when I left.
2013. Oh no, I think it was not you then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no
Because I
problem.
2015, yeah.
It's a
That's
big
why-
problem.
that's why
It's a
you
big
can't-
problem.
That's
Right,
right.
that's why he couldn't remember.
Okay.
Yeah,
real-
Yeah.
I
You
should
know
have
what?
just said that I saw
10
him.
years ago.
that's all right.
I was real lucky to play with Calvin Newborn and Herman Green. These are some badass cats from Memphis. They've got their note on Beale Street.
Yeah.
It was really cool to play blues, the Memphis blues, because the way it swings, it's about moving your hips.
Yep.
And so different than Chicago blues, and the drummer really gets a little bit on the Memphis side, you know, and, Albert King and stuff. So, anyways, that's my comment. I can't wait to see what you guys do.
Yeah, it's got a lot of soul music mixed with blues in Memphis too, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
tell us about what you're gonna play, and is this gonna be on the new record? Is it an original? And then let's go ahead and give you the spotlight.
Yep, it's an original. It's called With My Friends, and it's gonna be on our new record.
All right, you're up. Take it away.
I wanna party all night long.
Yeah. Celso Salim and Darryl Carriere right here on the Rock and Talk Show. That was swinging, guys. That was cool.
Thank you.
My hips were swinging.
That was
That
our
was
first
cool.
blues guy. That was our first
favorite.
blues, right?
Joe, you feel a drum beat there? You got a drum
There
beat
is some
going?
blues.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Want to party all night with our friends, you know what I
That's
mean?
right. One of our favorite things to do.
Yeah.
I wanted
We're
to
still going.
cigar, a cigar box.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice,
exactly.
man. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
Did you play? Did you jam with us or what?
Well, I didn't want to interrupt the latency. That was too much fun to enjoy that. I wouldn't. But,
Oh, thank you, man.
but I would love to come out and see you guys in Mountain Cali. Let's do some playing.
Yeah, for sure, man.
That'd be an honor.
Did you like my saxophone solo? Wasn't it great? No.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
great, man. It was in my head.
I just got back from Sao Paulo. I was there for the last 5 days,
Oh, really? Oh.
and the audience was amazing. The food was amazing, and your guitar playing. You know, that's what I love about guitar. It's always the Latin and the Italiano. There's something about guitar players that when they come from a different part of the world, man, they really got a handle. And you sound great.
Thanks a lot.
The
Thanks a
music
lot.
in Brazil is insane. Everybody loves music in Brazil. It's
It was wonderful.
Well, that was fun, but we are pretty much at the end of the show. But we have two questions for you, Joe, and then we're gonna have Celso and Darryl tell us where people can find you guys. But
All right.
first question that I have, and then I'm gonna let Sheila ask the next question, is for those that have never listened to Zappa, and there's like, I don't know how many recordings he's got, 100 core recordings that are actually out there. What do you tell somebody that knows nothing and hasn't listened? What's the first record they should listen to?
Well, the gateway record that seems to be the one for everyone is Apostrophe from 1974. It kind of basically has everything you would expect in there. I personally love Shake Your Booty, and I love Hot Rats.
Hot Rats with
yeah.
Lowell George.
Yeah. So, well, no, actually, believe it or not, he didn't play on that one.
I thought,
Yeah.
oh, maybe Neon Park did the cover. Neon Park.
Yeah. Anyway, so Apostrophe is always the safe bet to be a gateway for people. But I really dig Hot Rats. Yeah.
Awesome, Sheila.
Oh,
Are
yes.
people-
This is a question. This is a question from one of our viewers wanting to know, does the Zappa estate still have a presence in Laurel Canyon?
A presence?
Yeah, that's what they're asking. A presence.
Forever. There's always going to
Yeah.
be a Zappa present.
Good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Unless
yes,
they tear the house
spiritually.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spiritually, yes.
But they have a
Woodrow-
physical.
Woodrow Wilson is a street for many great minds and serious artists that live up there. You know, when I was 12, I played with Dweezil. He was working on Crunchy Water,
Yep.
and his dad was there and his sister. And Scott Marshall on bass.
And were you also working with Greg Kirsten too?
Yeah, no, I worked with Greg. I worked with Greg a little later in life, but
Because he was playing with Dweezil too back then. So
Wow.
you know,
Yeah.
it was Little League, and there was the Beverly Center, which was ponies, and then.
So
But
wait,
I tell you,
go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
yeah, the house up there
Thank you.
is magical, and it's always from space. You could probably see the magic coming out of that place.
you're right. You're right. Yeah, Frank Spirit will always be. He was the king, the ringleader, the spiritual guru of Laurel Canyon, and always will be. And so, even though things are a lot different now, Gail's gone, Zappa's gone, so many is gone from the scene. But the family is still alive, and the music will always be alive. And yeah. So
In big part, thanks to you. So
Yes,
Well,
thank you.
Good job.
Yes.
Thank you, Joe.
Celso and Darryl, tell us where we can find you.
So you can find us on Instagram as Celso and Darryl, or you can find our individual pages, Celso Salim and Darryl Carriere. Facebook's the same thing, and our website is celsoanddarryl.com.
Yeah, and you can join
Awesome.
the emailing list.
Yeah, right on the
Awesome.
first page. There, yeah.
And Joe, anything you want to shout out before we?
I have a YouTube channel. It's JT Media Content. You can see, things that I post every once in a while. I'm not super productive with it, but I think that there's some things on there that might entertain you. And come to the Baked Potato, and come to the Grape, and come to Alva's in San Pedro, and come see One Shot Deal play around town. And we'll be happy to play Zappa's music for you. And stay tuned, because the Zappa brand is going to be unleashing even more releases. In fact, one is going to be announced in 2 weeks. So stay tuned. For all you guitar players out there, you're going to really like this next one.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. Is this something that's never been released before?
Yes, that's true.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
Can't wait. Thank you, Joe, for joining us. It's a pleasure having you. Celso and Darryl, thank you guys
So much. Yeah, we
had a
really
fun time.
appreciate it. Yeah.
for joining us.
Great show. Hey, before we go, I want to show you something, Joe.
Yes. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's so pretty.
That's like the Terry Bozzio Stephen Perkins kit right there.
Look at that thing, man. You got that's every drum in the world, Perk.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. We could hang out and do a duet if you ever want to come by.
Oh my God, it's so gorgeous.
I got a
would've-
casual this weekend. Can you bring your drums?
Yeah, right. I wish that I would have had the time to tell you my story about nothing shocking. I have a really great story about that, but maybe next time.
Absolutely. Please come back on the show. You're a great guest.
Love you,
You guys
Steven,
don't
and
go
love
away.
You guys.
Don't go away.
We'll wait
Go
one
ahead,
second.
Sheila.
Let's say stay tuned for our next show, which will be April 20th. And please like the Rock and Talk Show on Instagram, Facebook, and at the Rock and Talk Show. Like us on YouTube, subscribe, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
And don't go away, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And much love, brother.
See you next time on the Rock and Talk Show Beyond Backstage with your hosts, Norwood Fisher, Kenny Olson, Scott Page, Stephen Perkins, Sheila Conlon, and David Moss. Executive producers, Sheila Conlon and David Moss. Producer and director, Eric Lloyd. Assistant producer and creative director, Mark Armentano. Editor, Graham Cooper. Theme music by ThinkX. Powered by JBL and AKG. Artist Relations and TPI Films. Special thanks to From the Earth, ThinkX, the Conlon Company, and Matt. Check us out on YouTube / The Rock and Talk Show. Facebook and Instagram at The Rock and Talk Show. Because I didn't know if I was going to sing or you were going to sing.
Dude,
And
Morongo,
see you
good
guys.
times.
We'll see.